Because Yukako Yamagishi's love for Koichi had reached a point of near distortion, Koichi suffered greatly, so he bravely rejected her advances. Yukako hair quickly wrapped around Koichi, but Koichi had already written the word explosion on his clothes. Koichi calmly gazed at her. Yukako was thrown back by a powerful force. Her hair snapped from the blast and was sent flying toward the edge of a cliff. Koichi slowly walked toward the cliff, and saw that Yukako hair had turned completely white. He frantically activated his stand ability. Check Yumiko's heartbeat. When his stand heard Yukako's heartbeat, Koichi finally sighed in relief. But in an instant, Yukako launched a counterattack, quickly wrapping Koichi's stand in her hair. In an instant, even the air around Hanako's hair was filled with murderous intent, as she prepared to strangle Koichi's stand to death. Just as Koichi was about to fight back, Yukako snapped the tail of his stand, sending it falling to the rocks below the cliff, then bouncing into the sea. Yukako hated him as much as she had loved him before. Every word she uttered was filled with hatred and murderous intent. At this moment, all she wanted was to kill Koichi with her own hands, as she laughed maniacally. A snap interrupted her thoughts. Koichi, struggling, warned her, "The cliff is going to crack. Grab something nearby." Yukako thought he was only saying this to save himself. But suddenly, the cliff really did start to split apart. In an instant, the originally vicious Yumiko became flustered. She wants to let go of the stand-in, to save one's own life, but it was already too late. When she thought she would die at this moment, the rock that should have pierced her back, but like a spring, it bounced her back to the ground. It turned out that during their earlier fight, when Yukako hair tightly entangled the stand, Koichi had already written something on the rocks. Watching Koichi's proud figure disappear into the distance, Yukako was deeply moved. "While I was thinking about how to kill him, but he's already figured out how to save me?" So, Yukako had already lost the moment she started fighting Koichi. Whereupon Yukako likes Koichi even more. Jasuke and Itai. When going home together, Itai discovered near the cemetery a new Italian restaurant has opened. Just when Jasuke was wondering why it was located near a cemetery, Itai suddenly wanted to eat at this restaurant. No matter how hard Jasuke tried to convince him, he couldn't change Itai's mind. In the end, he had no choice but to compromise and go with Itai. When they reached the restaurant, they noticed a sign outside that read, "Our dishes are tailored to suit the customer's health condition." Jasuke was immediately suspicious, so they decided to go inside. Once they entered, Itai was immediately captivated by the elegant decor of the restaurant. Jasuke, on the other hand, thought Itai was overreacting a bit. At that moment, an Italian chef dressed in full uniform walked out to greet them. It seemed like he was the sole operator of the restaurant. Itai, curious, asked him if he was really Italian. The chef smiled and replied, "I am a true Italian chef. To deepen my understanding of food, I traveled the world. Eventually, I came to Japan, where I discovered the fresh ingredients and stunning landscapes of Morio Town. That's when I decided to settle here." Jasuke was a bit skeptical of what the chef said, but Itai, on the other hand, was already eager to see the menu. However, the chef told them that there was no menu. Itai immediately got a little upset and reached out his hand, demanding a menu. The chef calmly grabbed Itai's hand and began to examine it carefully. After a moment, he spoke, "You had a poor sleep last night. There's some athlete's foot on your right foot, and you have 2 decayed teeth." Itai was stunned, and to his surprise, everything the chef said was true. The chef then poured 2 glasses of water and apologized for not serving Jasuke sooner. After that, he went into the kitchen to start preparing the meal. What happened next was even stranger. Itai took a sip of the water and was immediately moved to the point of almost crying. He said, "This water, it's like the first drink of water after walking through the desert for 3 days." Jasuke, puzzled, also took a sip and was equally stunned by the taste. Itai didn't hesitate for a second and drank the entire glass in one go. Just as Taesuke was wondering what brand of water it was, suddenly, tears streamed down Itai's face. Jasuke handed him a handkerchief, hoping to help him wipe the tears away, but Itai's tears kept flowing nonstop, like a spring that had been uncovered. Subsequently, Itai's eyeballs began to atrophy. Jasuke, sensing something was wrong, suddenly realized that the person standing in front of him was no ordinary chef. He was a stand user. His fingers and palm were crushed in a fracture. This was probably the most devastating defeat Rohan Kishibe had ever suffered. He hadn't lost his entire arm. He was just lucky to escape that fate. Even after having his strength drained by the star of the highway, and being trapped in the tunnel, he could still say it with complete calm. But this incident left the old man from the northwest feeling fear deep in his heart. Even long after it had happened, he would still feel a lingering sense of dread. He often felt that the man was watching him from some hidden corner. It all started with a silver-haired man. His name was Yuma. Yuma was a newly debuted model who had played a few minor roles, but had never gained much attention. At the suggestion of his agent, Yuma started working out at the gym to build muscle and improve his overall aura. After some time of training, his physique made remarkable progress. It was around this time that Yuma met Master Rohan at the gym. Their competitive spirits clashed, and they couldn't stand each other. Whatever they practiced, they had to compete over it, leaving the trainer stunned, wishing he could just quit and give them the spot. Rohan then proposed a challenge. They would both start the treadmill at the same time, and whoever reached 25 miles per hour first and grabbed the remote to stop the treadmill would win. Yuma eagerly accepted the challenge. Naturally, Rohan won. Yuma slammed hard onto the ground to take down Rohan Kishai. Yuma trained even harder. At times, it felt as if a demon was standing beside him. If he kept going, he was on the verge of awakening his stand. Whether he became famous or landed a leading role in a movie no longer mattered to Yuma. He trained with relentless intensity, with only one goal in mind: take down Rohan Kishai. Jack had poured all his attribute points into luck, and the very next evening, he encountered the game's only unique monster. Rumor has it there are only 7 unique monsters in the entire game. Defeating any one of them rewards you with rare items or exclusive skills. But here's the catch: Jack had just left the beginner village. This boss was so powerful, it could send him back to the respawn point with a single normal attack. Despite this, Jack wasn't scared in the slightest. In fact, he was even more excited. He was eager to take on this life and death challenge. In this game with 30 million players online, any gap in power can be closed with skill and experience. And Jack was no slouch. He was a top-tier expert who had conquered countless tough games. Though his defense was painfully low and one hit could kill him, the monster couldn't land a single blow. No matter how fast or unpredictable the monster's attacks were, Jack dodged them with ease, relying on his lightning-fast reflexes. Not only could he dodge, but he also delivered precise strikes to the monster's weak points mid-air. Thanks to his high luck, Jack's critical hit rate was nearly 100%. But here's the kicker: after 2.5 minutes of fighting, the monster hadn't taken a single point of damage. Meanwhile, his weapon's durability was almost gone. It was clear that this monster was out of his league for now. Without targeting the monster's most vulnerable spots, Jack had no chance of winning. Yet, this only made the challenge even more thrilling. He was itching to push himself to the limit. Without hesitation, Jack used the monster's force to propel himself into the air, charging his dagger and aiming for the monster's eyes. Just as he was preparing for the next attack, the monster suddenly stopped. It let out a deafening roar toward the sky. The next moment, Jack found himself frozen in midair, completely unable to move. Before he could react, the monster vanished into the night. But in the blink of an eye, his body was sliced straight in half. Jack realized the terrifying power of this creature, but it only fueled his resolve to defeat it. Strangely, his health didn't drop to 0, it remained with just a sliver left. He guessed that his high luck had saved him from dying in that last attack. He then shouted at the monster, "Don't let anyone else kill you before I defeat you." The monster didn't respond. Instead, it delivered a fatal blow. When Jack respawned, he noticed strange tattoos all over his body. Checking his status, he realized he had been cursed by the monster. Cursed body parts could no longer equip armor, and monsters below the curse bearer's level would actively avoid him. To lift the curse, Jack would need to defeat the monster that cast it. As he checked his level, Jack was stunned to see that after just one night, he had reached level 28. Clearly, battling the unique monster had earned him a massive amount of experience. Seeing that he had 50 attribute points, Jack immediately invested them all into luck and agility. Since he couldn't equip armor, boosting his defense would be pointless, so he focused entirely on enhancing his agility. The benefits of luck were obvious. Not only did it increase his critical hit rate, but it also helped him avoid instant death during combat. This was proven in his battle with the unique monster. While pondering his next move, a rabbit suddenly dropped from the sky, landing squarely on Jack's head. Turning around, Jack saw that this rabbit resembled a killer rabbit, but with some differences. The rabbit nodded at him, signaling for him to follow. Then, it hopped off quickly. Without hesitation, Jack chased after it, thinking it was a random event. Catching the rabbit might reward him with rare items. Just as he cornered the rabbit in a dead end, the rabbit opened a door in the wall, gave Jack a meaningful look, and then closed it behind itself. Jack's attention was caught by the words on the door: "Unique quest, invitation to the Rabbit Kingdom." Jack remembered reading about this in a game guide. The game was considered a masterpiece not just for its main storyline, but also for its many side quests. Unique quests were especially rare. The developers had never disclosed how to trigger them, and even elite players had never completed one. Without hesitation, Jack stepped through the door, but he didn't notice the new text that appeared on the door: recommended level 80. Is Bart really getting married at such a young age? A cow kicked a chicken high into the air. While flying, the chicken laid an egg. When the shell cracked open, a baby chick popped out. The chick was immediately snatched up by an eagle, but the eagle lost its grip, and the chick fell straight down a chimney. After coming out of the chimney, the chick rode a burning log and flew directly toward a barn. It finally landed next to a haystack, trembling with fear. In a panic, the chick grabbed onto a cow. The startled cow kicked over a bucket of water, which just happened to put out the fire. The farmer who witnessed all of this stood there in shock. The cigarette fell from his mouth onto the hay, sparking another fire. After crossing a river, they somehow stopped right at Mr. Burns's front door. The fire pushed the door open and surged inside. Smithers screamed and ran out of the house. The blaze kept spreading until it reached Springfield Elementary School. When Skinner saw it, he immediately ordered Willie to put out the fire. But all the fire extinguishers at the school had mysteriously disappeared. With no other option, Skinner handed Willie a pack of wet wipes and told him to try using those to fight the flames. Skinner couldn't figure out where all the extinguishers had gone. It turned out Bart had stolen every single one. Bart wanted to become the fastest kid in the world, climbed into his go-kart and hit the switch. The homemade device launched forward like a rocket. By this point, Springfield was completely engulfed in flames. If the fire wasn't put out quickly, everyone would be in serious danger. Just then, Bart arrived in time, driving his fire extinguisher-powered car. He successfully put out every fire in town. Without Bart, no one knew what they would have done. The townspeople lifted him into the air and praised him as a hero. To show their gratitude, the mayor announced that Bart could have any wish he wanted. After thinking it over, Bart decided he wanted a real driver's license. Bart got his license. He could now legally drive on the road. Just then, a car passed by him. Bart immediately pulled it over. Homer began shouting at the driver.
Homer, is that you?
For it!
With a license in hand, Bart could even drive himself to school. He cruised along sidewalks and parked wherever he felt like. He could stop anywhere he wanted, even on top of other people. Ever since Bart got his license, Homer would call him to come pick him up, no matter what Bart was doing. Bart finally had enough. He turned off his phone and decided to hide out in another town. To escape Homer, Bart arrived in North Haverbrook. Walking down the street, he saw 3 pretty girls.
Any of you ladies like stereo music?
I do.
Darcy got into Bart's car. They spent the whole day together, eating, shopping, and walking at sunset. But Homer called again.
Bart, this is a matter of life and death. What is the difference between ketchup and catsup? They're gonna cut my head off!
That night, Bart and Darcy went to a drive-in movie. The romantic scenes on the screen made them want to kiss. Afterward, Darcy suddenly said she wanted to marry Bart.
What?
She believed that once you kissed someone, you had to marry them. Under pressure, Bart went to apply for a marriage license. At the critical moment, he finally told Darcy the truth about himself. Darcy was shocked to learn that Bart was only 10 years old, but she was hiding a secret too. Bart never imagined he might become a father. The child, however, wasn't actually his. Darcy just wanted to find a father for her baby. Bart was moved by her honesty. He decided he really wanted to marry Darcy, but since he was only 10, he couldn't legally get married. The clerk said that marriage laws in Utah were more lenient. The two of them immediately set off for Utah. Just then, Homer and Marge arrived in time to stop them. Darcy's parents showed up as well. After talking with their parents, Bart and Darcy said goodbye calmly and peacefully.
Thanks for everything.
Darcy, in 50 years, you might see me walking down the street and you'll wonder, is that Bart? And I'll go, and you'll know.
The water at this restaurant is so good it makes you cry. What's more, the cuisine can repair physical damage. Today, Jusuk and Okuyasu mysteriously found themselves standing in front of an Italian restaurant. As soon as they walked in, Okuyasu was immediately taken in by the restaurant's decor. But Jusuk had a bad feeling about the place. Then, a chef came out to greet them. It seemed like he was running the entire restaurant by himself. The chef led them to their table. What a gentleman. Once they sat down, Okuyasu immediately asked for the menu, but the chef said they didn't have one. Instead, he'd customized the dishes based on the customer's needs. At this point, Okuyasu's short temper flared up, and his right hand nearly reached the chef's face. But the chef calmly called out Okuyasu's recent issues. He pointed out that Okuyasu had been having trouble sleeping lately, and that he had diarrhea the night before. Turns out, this chef wasn't just good in the kitchen, he seemed to know a little bit about medicine too. Okuyasu's shocked expression confirmed the chef's claims. Meanwhile, Jusuk, a bit suspicious, only ordered a cappuccino. The chef poured 2 glasses of water for them and went back to the kitchen to cook. That's when the strange events started. Is the water at this restaurant really that fancy? Okuyasu was so moved that tears started to fall. It's just a glass of water, why is he so emotional? Wait, why are the tears still flowing? Jusuk was shocked. Even weirder, Okuyasu's eyeballs started to shrink. Just then, the chef returned. Jusuk instantly tensed up, but the chef remained completely calm. As the chef explained the reason, something incredible happened. Okuyasu's eyes felt completely refreshed. All his fatigue disappeared, and now he was full of energy. Jusuk sat down, his face filled with confusion, but he still didn't drink his cappuccino. The second dish was a vegetarian one, and Okuyasu took a small bite. Okuyasu, to everyone's surprise, began speaking like a food critic, going on and on about the dish. At this point, the chef suggested Okuyasu take off his jacket. Okuyasu felt something was off with his body. As he scratched, something strange began to peel off his skin. The chef calmly said it was just the dirt in his body, and advised Okuyasu to scratch harder. Unable to stop himself, Okuyasu scratched more and more, and soon a huge hole appeared on his shoulder. Just as Jusuk prepared to intervene, Okuyasu suddenly felt completely fine again, and his body felt lighter than ever. The chef took the dirt Okuyasu had scratched off and went back to the kitchen. Jusuk was now sure the chef was definitely a stand user. He then rushed into the kitchen. After the puppy finished eating the chef's food, it suddenly burst its intestines. Today, Jusuk entered a strange kitchen, lit in an eerie, unsettling way. But there was no chef in sight. On the table, only a plate of lamb chops remained. Jusuk walked into a side room, where he found the chef feeding the lamb chops to a small dog. After eating, the dog's behavior became increasingly abnormal. The chef noticed Jasuk sneaking into the kitchen. With a threatening look on his face, he walked toward Jasuk, muttering under his breath that he would not let him escape so easily. Jasuk, filled with anger, thought to himself, he's really not going to let who get away with this. Before he could finish the thought, he heard a noise behind him. It was Okuyasu. He was devouring the lamb chops with a frenzy, but eating these lamb chops would turn him into a monster, just like that puppy. Jasuk rushed over to stop Okuyasu, but the chef silently approached from behind, raising something in his hand. Wait a minute, was the chef really just trying to get Jasuk to wash his hands? Then what was up with all those strange lights during the whole ordeal? Looking back, Okuyasu seemed fine, and the puppy was completely unaffected. So, it seems the chef is actually some kind of food-based healer? He didn't even know what a stand-in was. After both sides revealed their identities, the situation finally calmed down. But in the end, Jasuk was still responsible for cleaning up the kitchen. Meanwhile, Okuyasu happily finished all his custom-made dishes. How terrifying is a gambler on a losing streak? Losing your house to a fire doesn't matter at all. You have to finish this bet no matter what. There is an alien that can transform itself into a dice. Jasuk took the initiative to go to Rohan's house, planning to swindle him out of some cash, to pad his own pocket money. After cleaning up the first round, Rohan immediately got suspicious. How could an ordinary person be this lucky? Jasuk frantically signaled the alien, telling him to take it easy on the wins. But who would have thought? As soon as the second round started, Jasuk rolled 3 sixes again. A 5 times payout. Even a fool could tell he was cheating. Rohan snatched the dice right away, starting to examine them back and forth. But after checking them all over, he couldn't find anything wrong. Rohan was completely dumbfounded. Whoa, I don't want that thing. Are you out of your mind? And Rohan told him straight up, I've hated your guts since the day I met you. If it weren't for Joseph and Koichi's sake, I would have beaten you to a pulp a long time ago. Today, right here, I'm gonna expose your cheating trick. With that said, Rohan slapped a stack of cash on the table. If I can't figure out how you're cheating by the end of this bet, you can take these 2 million yen and run. But if I catch you cheating, just then, Kobayashi arrived at Rohan's house too, sent by Rohan himself. He would use his stand, the lock, to supervise the bet, to prevent either of them from welching on the deal. And the lock had an extra safeguard. If Jasuk won come hell or high water, Rohan went first, rolling 2 3s and 1 4. Finally, a totally normal roll. Jasuk let out a sigh of relief. But the second he picked up the dice, Jasuk's jaw dropped to the floor. Rohan had shaken the dice so hard, he actually made the alien carsick. Just as Jasuk hesitated, the sound of a fire truck siren suddenly echoed nearby. That was the alien's worst nightmare. Red rashes immediately popped up on the dice. Before things got even worse, Jasuk hastily threw the dice. 3 sixes again. Kobayashi stand, the lock, didn't activate at all, which meant Jasuk was definitely cheating. As soon as the dice stopped rolling, Rohan immediately leaned in to stare at the bat. Jasuk narrowly escaped disaster. The fire burned down half of Rohan's mansion, causing over 7 million yen in direct damages. Jasuk didn't lose a thing, but Rohan's grudge against him only grew deeper. This village is a top-tier powerhouse in their respective fields. They're the cream of the crop, far outclassing ordinary people. These elites share one shocking common trait. When they were 25 and still regular folks, they all bought a house in this village. Their careers blew up right after moving in. These people went from average Joes to billionaires almost overnight. Among them are a shipyard chairman, a pharmaceutical CEO, and a cosmetics brand founder. Yet in this so-called billionaire village, there's actually a villa up for sale. Hearing this news, teacher Rohan lost his patience completely.
今なんだって。
そういうの興味ないですか？ないですかね？
You know damn well I'm strapped for cash right now. Why the hell are you telling me this? The girl looked at him in total confusion and asked, what exactly do you mean by that? It turns out the girl wasn't asking teacher Rohan to buy the villa for her. She wanted to buy it herself. That villa only costs 3 million yen, converted to US dollars. That's less than $20,000, an absurdly low price. With a loan plus her savings, she could easily snap it up. Hearing this, teacher Rohan immediately sensed something was off. How could there be such a cheap villa in a village full of billionaires? This price was impossible. There had to be something fishy going on. Determined to uncover the truth, teacher Rohan decided to go with the girl. They were going to visit this legendary billionaire village and find out why the price was so low. The manor was tucked deep in the mountains, extremely secluded. There were no roads leading to it, not even a single power line in sight. The two trekked through mountains and rivers, overcoming countless obstacles. They finally reached the manor's gate. Rumor had it the manor's owner valued etiquette above all else. If you lacked basic manners, he'd never sell you the house. As they stood at the gate talking, they suddenly spotted a small bird lying under a tree. If they left the bird there, wild animals would snatch it up in no time. So they decided to take the bird with them first. They'd find its nest on the way back and safely return it home. Just then, the manor's front door suddenly swung open. A strange-looking little boy walked out, coming to greet them voluntarily.
こんにちは。遠路はるばるようこそおいでくださいました。 本日はお天気もよろしく何よりでございました。
This office worker turns out to be a twisted serial killer. He actually cut off a woman's hand and keeps it as a collectible, carrying it with him at all times. To make it even more disturbing, he placed a ring on the hand. Despite being so mentally warped, he still has a charming appearance, which attracts the attention of several women. This twisted individual is named Yashikage Kara. For his own reasons, he rejected the advances of the women who showed interest in him. On his way to work, Yashikage Kara walked into a bakery, his face contorted with a twisted grin as he pulled back his coat, revealing the hand he carried with him everywhere. Holding the severed hand, he began to choose from various types of bread. After picking one, he placed the dead hand on top of it and asked, "Do you like it?" While poking at the bread, he accidentally ripped the packaging, and sauce spilled onto the hand. Then, in a disturbing act, Yashikage Kara put the sauce-covered hand into his mouth, and began greedily sucking on it. After buying the bread, he walked into a park. He made his way to an unnoticed tree and began savoring the bread in his hand. There, he began to savor the bread, muttering twisted thoughts to himself. Halfway through eating, he suddenly brought the hand to his nose, and sniffed it. Noticing a strange odor, he set the bread aside and pulled out some perfume. He sprayed it directly onto the severed hand, thinking to himself, maybe it's time to get a new girlfriend. While he was lost in thought, he heard some noise nearby. Instinctively, he hid the hand in the packaging bag. It turned out to be a small dog. Yashikage Kara glared at the dog with a sinister expression, scaring it away. Then, he continued to enjoy his bread. At that moment, a chubby boy appeared. He held a packaging bag identical to Kara Yashikage's in his hand. The boy had been tricked by two classmates into playing a word game, but he found it far too difficult, so he set the packaging bag down and began to focus on solving the game. Meanwhile, the small dog, which had run off earlier, had stolen the chubby boy's bread. After finishing the game, the boy realized his bread was missing and began looking for it. By chance, Yashikage Kara's bag was nearby. The chubby guy walked over and picked up the bag containing the hand. By the time Yashikage Kara realized what had happened, the boy had already run off. Yashikage Kara started to chase him. Just as he was about to catch up with the boy and grab the bag, the boy was stopped by his classmates at a corner. Reluctantly, Yashikage Kara had to stop his pursuit. After the classmates walked away, he resumed chasing the boy. Finally, just as he was about to grab the packaging bag, the boy suddenly turned around, and the two collided. The boy quickly apologized and ran back to school. Yashikage Kara followed him. The boy secretly went into the equipment room, preparing to enjoy his bread. Kara Yashikage followed right behind and appeared outside the equipment room window, his face showing that the situation was about to be exposed. But the boy suddenly decided to pair his bread with a drink. Seeing this, Yashikage Kara quickly jumped into the equipment room to retrieve the bag containing the hand. Just as he was about to get it, two of the boy's classmates jumped in with their lunchboxes. In a moment of panic, Yashikage Kara hid inside the equipment. Two classmates pulled out their bento boxes and started eating. Yashikage Kara seized the opportunity to turn a coat hanger into a thin rod. He hooked onto the packaging bag and pulled it close to himself. Unfortunately, the bag had already been opened, and the sticker couldn't support the weight. The bag toppled over. This caught the attention of the classmates, who were now about to open it to see what was inside. At this critical moment, the boy yelled, "Don't touch my bread," and rushed over. While the boy argued with his classmates, Yashikage Kara finally got the bag. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief, no longer fearing that someone would discover he was a murderer. However, the boy soon realized his bread was gone. He began to summon a group of tiny figures to search for it. It was then that Yashikage Kara realized that, like him, they too were stand users. As the tiny figures were about to discover him, the gym teacher angrily knocked on the door, causing all three to flee. Yashikage Kara breathed a sigh of relief, having narrowly escaped. In the end, Yashikage Kara left the equipment room with his girlfriend, only wanting to leave the school quickly and return to his place to spend a peaceful night with his girlfriend. This is hands down the hardest slot machine of all time. You need 100 matching symbols to actually beat it. Today, Jack's gonna crush it with just one single game coin. The machine powers on. Every symbol starts spinning at breakneck speed. There's no way anyone could make out what's on them. But to Jack, who has superhuman eyesight, all of them move in crystal clear slow motion. With every precise button press Jack makes, the crowd watching is totally blown away. 100 symbols all exactly the same. It's the first time this has ever happened in the casino's 100-year history. Jack's insane stunt shocks the casino's management team. They replay the security footage over and over. After confirming Jack didn't cheat at all, they immediately report the incident to the casino boss. Meanwhile, the slot machine's jackpot prize is brought right in front of them. Top-tier luxury ingredients worth over $1 billion yen. The casino just lost a fortune in one go. They're never gonna let these guys walk out easily. Soon after, Jack and the others are escorted to the VIP lounge. Normally, the odds here are way higher. The wins and losses are way bigger too. The casino can drain every penny you just won in no time. They walk through a maze of secret corridors, finally reaching the legendary VIP lounge. As soon as they step through the door, a man dropped dead from poisoning right then and there. They glance into the room. Turns out the so-called VIP lounge gambles with real human lives. Boring. Simple bets aren't enough for these rich folks anymore. Only games that end in death can give them that sick thrill. And the people risking their lives in these games are all gamblers who couldn't pay off their massive debts. They sold themselves to the casino. Even if they die, they have no right to complain. Inside this VIP lounge, Jack and his crew finally lay eyes on those highly addictive toxic ingredients. Jack's real mission this time is to take down this secret drug manufacturing den. Before they know it, they're standing at a gambling table. The game at this table is poisoned blueberry roulette. 1 out of every 10 blueberries is laced with deadly poison. Anyone who eats it will drop dead within 5 minutes. The players can bet on who's gonna meet their end. If you dare to taste the blueberries yourself, the odds double instantly. These people clearly have no clue who they're messing with. As the so-called Poison King, Jack won't even flinch if he eats the deadliest poison out there. Just as the crew is gearing up to win another huge payout, a giant, menacing figure looms toward them.
もっといいものかけない？
This stand can absorb all the electricity in town. Even if his fingers were broken, his true form would never stop playing. This morning, Josuk was casually watching TV when he suddenly noticed a very strange yellow stand on the screen. Just as Josuk was curious about it, the yellow stand suddenly appeared in front of him, and he was the very culprit who killed Josuk's friend. Josuk couldn't stand it any longer. He summoned his stand and unleashed a flurry of punches, but the opponent remained completely unharmed. Instead, with a powerful punch, the yellow stand knocked Josuk to the ground. Shortly after, the yellow stand stared at Josuk with disdain. They agreed to duel at the port this coming Wednesday at noon. With that said, he vanished without a trace. At the appointed time, Josuk arrived early at the harbor, but the yellow stand wasn't there. Just when Josuk thought his opponent was too scared to show up, he heard the crackling sound of electricity on the ground. Then, that yellow little figure jumped out of the underground cable. Behind him appeared his true form, a rock boy. Without hesitation, he started to perform. As if this were his stage, showing off his strength and arrogance, the rock boy walked over to Josuk and mocked him, claiming he could defeat him with just his pinky finger. But in the very next second, Josuk threw a punch and broke his finger. The arrogant look on the rock boy's face immediately turned to pain, but he had underestimated the rock boy's tenacity. Enduring the pain, the rock boy forced his finger back into place, then played another song, this one full of mockery aimed directly at Josuk. Furious, Josuk charged at him, but the rock boy dodged easily, like he was performing music, and quickly moved behind Josuk. That's when Josuk realized the entire underground was filled with cables. No wonder he chose this spot for their duel. The cables here could grant him boundless power. The yellow stand darted through the cables. Josuk summoned his stand and unleashed a fierce assault, but all his attacks hit nothing but the ground, and not a single punch landed on the rock boy's stand. After toying with Josuk, the rock boy circled around behind him. With a heavy punch, Josuk collapsed to the ground in agony. Just as the rock boy was brimming with arrogance, Josuk had already set his trap. It turned out that Josuk's seemingly random attacks were actually part of his plan. He used his stand ability to coat the cable access panel with tar. The tar completely blocked the access panel. When the rock boy's stand appeared once again, Josuk immediately summoned his stand and attacked wildly. But even after all the punches, the rock boy was completely unharmed. As long as he had enough electricity, he could keep healing, and even enhance his speed and power. After being outsmarted by Josuk's trap, the rock boy no longer underestimated his opponent. He immediately absorbed all the electricity in the town, causing a massive blackout. The rock boy's stand saw a massive boost in both speed and strength. Josuk tried to fight him head-on, but was easily knocked back in a single exchange, sending him flying onto a tractor. To make matters worse, the rock boy revealed that every bit of electricity he used was billed to Josuk's family's electricity bill. Just as the rock boy was about to finish Josuk off, the tire on the ground that had been shattered slowly began to regenerate. It turned out that Josuk had purposely allowed himself to be knocked onto the tractor, planning to use the insulating tire to trap the rock boy's stand. But how could a tiny tire possibly contain the town's electricity? The rock boy's stand easily punctured the tire with a single punch, but he didn't realize it was an inflated tire. The air pressure sent the tire, along with the rock boy's stand, flying into the ocean. Seawater is an excellent conductor with extremely low electrical resistance. No matter how much electricity you have, you can't fight the power of the ocean. After a brief struggle, the rock boy's stand was completely destroyed by the electric current, shattering into pieces. As the stand disappeared, the rock boy stood frozen in place. Even in death, he held his iconic rock stance. It was clear that the rock boy's passion for rock and roll had been woven into every fiber of his life. He accidentally killed her boyfriend, but before she could react, her fiancé walked into the room. With no other choice, the woman hid the body first, but the corpse, already without breath or heartbeat, kept bleeding from its wound. Starting that day, the body released exactly 300 milliliters of blood every single day, and after she got married, the woman never traveled far from home again. Every morning, she quietly disposed of the blood she had collected, making sure no one ever noticed. One day, she discovered by accident that if she sprayed water onto the dried up corpse, its appearance would return to the way it looked when it was alive. She was absolutely ecstatic. She even started sleeping with the corpse as if nothing had changed. Sometime later, Teacher Rowan used Heaven's Door and caught glimpses of fragments from the woman's memories to uncover the truth. He bought the entire mountain, kept returning to that mountain forest again and again. This time, Teacher Rowan came across a strange little girl. The moment the girl saw him, after taking just a few steps, he tripped over something unknown, slammed her head on a rock, and died instantly. Everything at the scene pointed to the fact that Teacher Rowan had killed her with his own hands. Meanwhile, the developers working under Rowan slowly arrived at the scene. Blood kept flowing from the girl's wound, and her face began to shrivel and dry up. The situation was exactly the same as that of the man accidentally killed by the woman. This girl was the woman's child, a child she had conceived with that bleeding corpse. Before the girl fully died, Teacher Rowan quickly activated the gate to heaven. As her vital signs disappeared, the memories within her started to blur and fade.
全部消える。消えたら二度と生き返らない。 その前に
Then, unexpectedly, the girl came back to life. The wound on her head vanished, as if it had never existed. Looking around in confusion, she turned and ran back toward the mansion. The mastermind behind all this is an invisible goblin. Teacher Rohan was so close to being possessed. This was the monster he uncovered after purchasing the entire mountain and investigating the events. Creatures like this have existed in the world since ancient times. They possess humans for one purpose only, to reproduce, and that's where this ghost story ends. At some point, a crowd had already gathered around Teacher Rohan. Everyone was completely absorbed in the tale. How many monsters like this still exist in the world? Teacher Rohan was completely in the dark too. After all, he wasn't a scientist, and he wasn't a reporter. He was just a manga artist. This handsome guy from Duong Town is Kishibe Rohan, a top-tier manga artist who's drop-dead gorgeous, and he's extremely wealthy. He's just trying to enjoy a coffee by the street when two excited fans rush over begging for an autograph. Rohan flicks his straw with a casual wave, and before anyone realizes what he did, the characters from his manga are already standing on the page. The whole scene instantly feels unreal and electrifying. Sitting across from him is the magazine editor who manages his projects. Rohan asked for this meeting because he wants an advance on his manuscript payment. He used to live in a mansion and drive luxury cars, but now he's completely broke, with no place to stay. He's been crashing at a friend's house. Not long ago, he sold everything he owned and bought 6 entire mountains outside of Morio, and he did it for one simple reason: gathering material for his manga. Rumor has it those mountains were once home to strange creatures, and a developer planned to cut through the area and build a resort. To protect the inspiration he cared so much about, Rohan bought the land before the developer could touch it. But once the construction project got cancelled, those mountains became completely worthless. The editor is stunned. He can't believe Rohan didn't buy the land as an investment at all, but only for his manga.
怪伝説の取材のためにくどいな。もし道路が開通してみろ。妖怪が逃げていなくなっちまうかもだろう。そうなったら台無しってやつだ。
He's trying hard not to laugh and practically pinching his leg to keep a straight face, but Kishibe Rohan spoke with an intensely serious look. He says everything started with a woman named Nambuko Daikanon. She's a wealthy heiress who's about to graduate from college. Her family's business has dominated the region for more than 3 centuries. Their estate sits at the end of a lonely road, and an entire mountain practically serves as their backyard. By chance, Rohan used Heaven's Door and saw her memories, and in those memories, she personally killed her boyfriend. The woman was casually playing a game with her lover. Her fiancé suddenly showed up at her door unannounced. Didn't this expose her affair? The woman panicked and told her lover to escape through the back door immediately, but he refused to leave. With no other choice, the woman pulled out a stack of cash as hush money to end their affair. Tell him to get out of here quickly. To her shock, her lover only got worse. He pounced on her and tried to tear off her clothes. During the struggle, the woman pushed him hard. He fell to the floor and never moved again.
Gunpei?
The woman checked his pulse. There was absolutely no sign of life. The scene was so brutal, it was like she'd bludgeoned him to death with a golf club. She tried to cover his wound, but no matter what she did, blood kept gushing out non-stop. Her father and fiancé were already knocking at the door. The woman had to drag the lover's body into the kitchen first. He had no heartbeat left. Why wouldn't the blood stop flowing? She wrapped the wound with tape layer after layer, but in the next second, the blood burst through the tape and poured out. The man's face also started to shrivel up and turn grotesque. By then, her father had left from outside the door. Only her fiancé remained, holding the key and ready to unlock it. Even sewing the wound shut wouldn't work. The woman quickly turned on the gas stove. She heated a spoon until it glowed red hot, then pressed it against the wound to cauterize it. Just as her fiancé was about to walk in, the woman rolled the lover's body up in a carpet. She lifted it and placed it on top of the cabinet. The door slowly opened. Everything inside the room looked as usual. There was no sign of anything out of the ordinary, and no other man was present. Her fiancé didn't notice the still bleeding wound at all.
あ、お願い。止まって、止まって。軍平、許して。止まって。私を許して。
He quickly apologized and said he had misunderstood. Then he backed out of the room. He went straight to the main house to wait for her. When spring came the next year, the two got married as planned. But the bleeding wound on the corpse never stopped for a single moment. This handsome guy from Duong Town is Kishibe Rohan, a top-tier manga artist who's drop-dead gorgeous, and he's extremely wealthy. He's just trying to enjoy a coffee by the street when two excited fans rush over begging for an autograph. Rohan flicks his straw with a casual wave, and before anyone realizes what he did, the characters from his manga are already standing on the page. The whole scene instantly feels unreal and electrifying. Sitting across from him is the magazine editor who manages his projects. Rohan asked for this meeting because he wants an advance on his manuscript payment. He used to live in a mansion and drive luxury cars, but now he's completely broke, with no place to stay. He's been crashing at a friend's house. Not long ago, he sold everything he owned and bought 6 entire mountains outside of Morio, and he did it for one simple reason: gathering material for his manga. Rumor has it those mountains were once home to strange creatures, and a developer planned to cut through the area and build a resort. To protect the inspiration he cared so much about, Rohan bought the land before the developer could touch it. But But once the construction project got cancelled, those mountains became completely worthless. The editor is stunned. He can't believe Rowan didn't buy the land as an investment at all, but only for his manga.
妖怪伝説の取材のためにくどいな。もし道路が開通してみろ。妖怪が逃げていなくなっちまうかもだろう。そうなったら台無しってやつだ。
He's trying hard not to laugh and practically pinching his leg to keep a straight face, but Kishai Rowan spoke with an intensely serious look. He says everything started with a woman named Nambuko Daikanon. She's a wealthy heiress who's about to graduate from college. Her family's business has dominated the region for more than 3 centuries. Their estate sits at the end of a lonely road, and an entire mountain practically serves as their backyard. By chance, Rohan used Heaven's Door and saw her memories, and in those memories, she personally killed her boyfriend. The comic book guy wanted Homer to help him find a girlfriend, because he believed Homer was the only fat man who had managed to marry a beautiful woman. When Marge heard the comic book guy praise her looks, she was overjoyed. She immediately dressed him in what she thought was his most handsome outfit, and the 3 of them took Kumiko to the trendiest restaurant in Springfield. But the restaurant's walls were piled with trash, and the only thing on the menu anyone could eat was a plate of baked potato skins. The comic book guy was furious. He angrily lashed out at the waiter. Surprisingly, Kumiko really liked his blunt, straightforward attitude, because in Japan people rarely speak so directly. As a result, the 2 of them quickly fell in love. However, their happy days did not last long. Kumiko's father came looking for his daughter, and Homer accidentally let something slip. He told him that Kumiko was dating an old, overweight man. That one sentence was enough to break the couple apart. To make up for his mistake, Homer had no choice but to personally go see Kumiko's father. The way after everything they had experienced, Kumiko's father finally came to his senses and agreed to let his daughter marry the comic book guy. Milhouse, however, remained stuck to a world full of delicious food, where mountains and rivers are edible, and grilled meat and bacon fill the sky. Every natural landscape here is made entirely of food you can eat. All kinds of birds and beasts are ready to eat delicacies. The protagonist Toriko is a gourmet hunter who makes a living catching these giant food beasts. These beasts are classified into different levels based on their hunting difficulty. A level 1 giant food beast requires 10 soldiers with rifles to capture. As the level increases, the difficulty gradually ramps up. One day, Toriko is fishing in the wild when he receives a new mission. He must travel to an island to capture a level 5 Kaira crocodile. It's said to be an extremely ferocious crocodile, so powerful that even tanks can barely take it down, matching its difficulty. Its meat is worth a fortune. A single piece can sell for 100,000 yen. Rumor has it that it's more tender and delicious than 5 grade beef. Toriko doesn't care much about the money, but if it's really that tasty, there's no way he can resist. This mission is a must-win. With that, Toriko sets off on his journey with Komatsu, who assigned the mission. On the yacht, Toriko asks Komatsu why a chef like him is joining such a dangerous mission. Komatsu explains that he's following his superior's orders to conduct an ecological survey of the Kaira crocodile. Speaking of chefs, Komatsu doesn't have a big head or a thick neck. How did Toriko know he's a chef? As a gourmet hunter, Toriko's sense of smell is sharper than a police dog's. From the scent on Komatsu's body, Toriko figured it out the moment they met. At the same time, Toriko is a total glutton. For a mid-trip bento, he needs a giant rice ball made with a whole big fish and 20 bowls of rice. Soon, the yacht carrying the 2 arrives at the archipelago where the Kaira crocodile lives. Groups of bizarre-looking golden shine monkeys are squatting on the reefs. These monkeys are naturally timid and usually only hide in caves. Now they're all running to the seaside. Something definitely unusual is happening on the island, and the entrance to the island is now right in front of them. Have you ever tried crocodile meat? This massive beast, known as the Gila Megagator, is said to have meat far more delicious than even the finest cuts of beef. Alu came here on this trip for one purpose: to bring one back. The eerie, shadowy path ahead looked like the gaping mouth of some monster. The waterway was so narrow that the 2 of them had no choice but to switch to a small boat to paddle deeper into the island. Countless sharks swam through the waters around them. These barong sharks are considered top-tier ingredients, the kind that takes at least 10 soldiers with rifles to handle. With that many dangerous creatures around, falling into the water meant being stripped clean in seconds. Once their little boat finally reached shore, the 2 of them stepped into the heart of the island. They had barely taken a few steps when Xiaosong felt a chill on his back. A leech had latched onto his neck. If he pulled it off by force, it could easily tear open the wound. Luckily, Alu had plenty of experience and used a leaf to drive the leech away. But before Xiaosong could even steady himself, a massive creature appeared behind them. A level 3 barong saber-toothed tiger. Catching one of these monsters normally takes at least 30 people working together. Xiaosong froze in terror, convinced he was about to die. But Alu simply glanced at it, and the saber-toothed tiger bolted like its life depended on it. These tigers usually stay deep inside the forest, so seeing one here was extremely unusual. Just like the golden flare monkey they saw on the shore earlier, a timid creature that almost never leaves its cave. All signs pointed to one thing: something far beyond ordinary predators was lurking in the island's interior, and it was very likely the giant gator they were searching for. As night began to fall, the Gila Megagator still hadn't appeared, so the 2 decided to eat first and start a fire for cooking. The deeper they went, the fewer animals they came across. Alu was certain that a stronger predator had already wiped most of them out. While they were eating, a level 5 clawed serpent suddenly shot out of the water nearby, but before they could even react, the snake was already dead with a massive wound across its body. Level 5, the same level as the Keela Megagator. So who, or what, could injure it like that? Clawed serpents are elusive, nearly impossible to detect. As they puzzled over it, the two noticed leeches attached to the serpent, the same kind that bit Xiaosong earlier. Before they could finish discussing it, the giant serpent was dragged underwater by some unknown creature. Moments later, a massive blood-red alligator slowly slithered over. This prehistoric giant beast, called the Kyra Megacroc, grows larger and stronger the longer it lives. Normally, it can live up to around 150 years, but this one has been alive for at least 300 years. Its size is even greater than that of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and what's even crazier is that this guy is about to fight it barehanded. Now, keep in mind, a 150-year-old Kyra Megacroc is already at level 5, which is the kind of power a tank would struggle to deal with, and the one in front of him is at least level 8. Do you get the scale of that? Without wasting any more time, Aru dives straight into a hand-to-hand battle with the Megacroc. He grabs the massive creature by its tail and throws it high into the air. Then, with a single punch, he sends the Megacroc flying tens of meters away. This is already at a superhuman level of strength, but the Megacroc isn't just some pushover. It counters with a series of rapid attacks, forcing Aru to retreat step by step, before finally sending him flying across the battlefield. Got any more moves? Looking at the massive creature in front of him, Aru decides it's time to show off a little. He's about to let the beast witness the terror of a true foodie. With a flash of red light, a demon holding a fork and knife appears behind Aru. Kamatsu, the chef, has never seen anything like this. As the demon possesses Aru, his body becomes even stronger and tougher. When his hands meet, a metallic sound rings out, but the Kyra Megacroc is no slouch. As an island's overlord, it's not about to let some human show off like this. The giant croc opens its massive jaws, and with a terrifying roar, charges directly at Aru. But Aru doesn't dodge. He holds out his hands like a fork, and stabs the Megacroc right through. Then, with his right hand transforming into a massive carving knife, he delivers a lethal blow, taking the Megacroc's life. Meanwhile, a drone-like eye is hovering above, observing the situation. As the Megacroc falls, a man wearing a mask reports back to his master. This croc is not the legendary delicacy they thought it was. After taking down the Megacroc, the first thing on their mind is, of course, to try the expensive meat. Aru and Kamatsu start cooking up a barbecue right then and there. While they're eating, they begin discussing their dreams. Kamatsu's dream is to become a top-tier chef, while Aru is focused on completing his life's menu, traveling the world, encountering countless ultimate flavors. As a chef, Kamatsu is fascinated by the world Aru describes, and he decides to join him on this adventure. The barbecue isn't enough to satisfy them, so Kamatsu adds a twist by cooking some salt-grilled croc meat on a stone slab. Faced with such high-end ingredients, the two of them are completely hooked. By the time the sun rises, there's not a single piece of meat left from the 1,000-pound Megacroc. I just want to know, what kind of stomach does Aru have? A gateway to another dimension? And how are they going to explain this to their mission handlers? Bart became a barber and gave Milhouse the coolest haircut ever. One day, Homer was watching an early childhood education DVD, but Marge stopped him because the newspaper said those DVDs were completely useless. Lisa was confused. She and Bart had both grown up watching those DVDs, so why did she turn out so accomplished?
Well, Bart turned out so wonderful in his own way. That's the way people talk about Ralph. Ralph, whose favorite color is peanut butter.
Marge thought back to their childhood. When Bart was glued to the educational videos, Lisa was using the DVD cases to build castles instead. Marge declared that from now on, no more DVDs. They would only watch programs with real educational value. On TV, a man had just caught a fish when a polar bear suddenly appeared and stole it. But in reality, the show was actually about poaching polar bears.
Okay, no TV at all. What?
Homer protested Marge's decision, so Marge announced a rule: no TV at all for 24 hours, and they could also take Maggie to the bookstore.
Homer, a little help?
I'm on it.
Marge believed they could replace TV by reading books written by celebrities. Just then, Homer found a book about finding hidden items. It was great for children's development and, of course, great for Homer too. Meanwhile, Bart went over to Milhouse's house. He originally wanted to play a glue gun battle, but accidentally glued Milhouse's hair instead. Bart told him not to worry. After all, he was the #1 barber. After a round of chaotic cutting, Milhouse ended up completely bald.
Oh my god, you look just like your dad!
Bart dressed Milhouse in a suit and tied a necktie around him. When the tie tightened, even Milhouse's voice sounded more grown up.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, O. What if we then happen to the max?
Whoa, that's a little too tight. Oh yeah.
Bart declared that now they were adults, they could do whatever they wanted. But first, he needed to teach Milhouse how to be a real man. Later, Milhouse called Homer to ask if Bart could stay over that night. Homer happily agreed, but that wasn't all. Milhouse warned Homer never to choke Bart again and said that whatever Bart wanted, Homer had better buy it.
Whatever you say, sir.
Dad, why are you kowtowing to Mr. Van Houten?
Sometimes it's just so nice to have a man take charge.
And in 10 years, make Lisa go to the prom with Milhouse.
Dad?
Grown-ups have their reasons.
Bart tied a paint bucket to Milhouse, making him look even more like an adult. Before long, Milhouse managed to get his dad's driver's license.
I rented a truck. I'm driving a truck. I crashed a truck. I rented another truck.
Outside a store, Bart and Milhouse ran into the 3 school bullies. Milhouse instinctively begged them not to beat him up, so the bullies decided to rob him instead. Milhouse had no choice but to treat them with beer and cigarettes. Apu immediately realized those items were being bought for kids, and if they were discovered, he would be held responsible too. In the end, the bullies got what they wanted, and Bart successfully bought a balloon meant for adults.
You dope. It says those are for her pleasure.
Back at home, Maggie was losing her mind because she couldn't watch TV. Lisa suggested that Marge take Maggie downtown, maybe to see a jazz band perform, but Marge didn't feel like going. Lisa was already used to it. She was always the one who got overlooked. Later, Bart called Lisa over and told her he knew an adult who could take her to see the concert. Lisa was surprised and asked who it was. At that moment, Milhouse stepped out.
Milhouse?
Milhouse? Who's Milhouse? I mean, he's my son.
Well, Milhouse.
Lisa said he might be able to take her, but they didn't have money for tickets. However, Bart already had a plan. Because early childhood education videos had misled parents, the courts had ordered the companies to compensate the families who bought them, but they wouldn't give the money directly to children.
Then I will be your guy's dad. Ah!
Thanks, but lowering your voice and standing on paint cans doesn't make you man enough to be my dad.
These apples with human faces are called surprise apples. They only bloom once every 10 years, and they only bear fruit once every 10 years. Each one is worth a staggering amount of money. What makes them truly special is that the stronger the scare, the better the flavor. To get a top-tier surprise apple, some people fire full auto AKs at the trees, some throw grenades under the branches, others bring out rocket launchers and blast like there's no tomorrow. The apples get so terrified their faces lock in shock, each one looking more dramatic than the last. Watching all this, Toriko can't hold himself back. He pulls out a megaphone stone, leans toward a tiny, harmless-looking apple, and unleashes a thunderous roar. The apple freezes on the spot before it can recover. Toriko reaches out and plucks it right off the branch. Everyone around him is instantly hooked. They all want to know just how incredible this apple tastes. An appraiser steps forward to test it, and the result shocks the crowd. This apple's scare level hits 27, and its value jumps past 10 million. The crowd erupts in cheers, but one person is completely confused. He has no idea what a scare level means. Steakhead immediately explains. Surprise apples are ranked from level 1 to level 100. Regular artillery blasts only reach level 4. If you want anything above 60, you need a nuclear missile, and level 100 would only happen if the entire planet exploded. According to known records, only 3 apples have ever passed level 90. The first was a level 95 apple made by President Ichiryu. The second was a level 92 by the anesthetic master. The third was another level 92 from the Gourmet Association's president. Compared to them, Toriko's level 27 apple, while valuable, is nowhere near the true peak.
じゃあ俺もやってやろうじゃんか。レベル90。いや、最高レベル100まで出してやるぜ。
Have you ever seen a giant sushi taller than 100 stories? This sushi was actually made by the village chief in a boxing ring. First, the village chief loosened up his body, picked up a piece of tuna, and threw it onto the ring. Then, with a high-flying press, followed by a super back suplex, it was like a full-on wrestling match. Is this really cooking? Next, the village chief turned into a boxer, pounding the meat patty relentlessly, until it softened and the aroma intensified. Then, he tossed a giant stinky durian at the ropes, waiting for it to bounce back, and with a flying leap, locked it down. For 3 whole days and nights, the village chief fought non-stop with all kinds of ingredients, finally completing the ringside cooking. But when they looked at the towering sushi, that was taller than 100 stories, Toriko and Komatsu were left speechless. Is this really sushi? It's almost too ridiculous. Suddenly, the giant sushi started to shake. If this giant sushi falls, it'd probably cause a 10-0 earthquake. Toriko and Komatsu saw this and ran faster than anyone. Wherever the giant sushi went, birds and animals fled in fear, and the forest was destroyed. The village chief told them, this wish-granting sushi will only make your wish come true if you finish eating it. If they couldn't finish it, it wouldn't work. But for Toriko, the big eater, this was a piece of cake. So, he he and Komatsu started devouring the wish sushi. It was so delicious, every bite had a different taste. The rich, juicy sausage and eggplant, and the incredibly fresh crab-flavored meat. They ate from dawn to dusk, from the grasslands to the desert. Their stomachs seemed like bottomless pits. No one knew how many days and nights pasadas they kept eating. Finally, Komatsu couldn't eat anymore. He asked Toriko, "What's your wish?" Toriko replied, "To find the legendary 100-star hotel. This hotel has no fixed location, and can only be found with the help of wish sushi." After resting for a while, they continued to eat with gusto. After what seemed like an eternity, Komatsu suddenly screamed. Toriko turned pale with fear at what he saw. The wish sushi had been cut off. The vast forest that stretched for thousands of miles had vanished. Before they could process this, they heard a strange noise behind them. A little chubby guy was running off with a pile of sushi. When the little chubby guy saw what was happening, he immediately fled. Toriko rushed after him, furious that someone had dared to steal his sushi. But by the time Toriko caught up, the little guy had disappeared, and all that was left was a restaurant. Toriko and Komatsu were overjoyed. The very place Toriko had been searching for all. $1 billion. All you need to do is get the Loch Ness Monster to eat a single bite of food, and you'll receive $1 billion. Achieving financial freedom. But despite the wide variety of food offered, the monster showed no interest at all. Just when its owner thought there was no hope, Sani, with his rainbow-colored hair, returned with milk from a whale. The monster suddenly seemed interested in this. Sani thought he was about to get his billion, but the monster still refused to drink. Next, Coco, riding a raven, returned with honey from the bee dragon's nest. This honey was soft and smooth, sweet but not overwhelming, yet the monster only sniffed it and walked away. At that moment, Aru returned with earth strawberries. These berries had absorbed all the nutrients from the land, combining the sweetness of every kind of berry into one incredibly sweet fruit. But once again, the monster refused. When the wealthy owner had almost given up, Chef Komatsu discovered the problem. He noticed the monster had been staring at Rin, who was eating ice cream. Komatsu guessed that the monster wanted ice cream, so he quickly combined 3 ingredients to create a dish. Not long after, he presented a bee strawberry sundae. This time, the monster devoured it in one bite, after absorbing the nutrients from 3 different desserts. Its body immediately became smooth, soft, and elastic. The wealthy man suddenly remembered that the first time he had shared food with the monster was also a sundae. After eating, the monster's body was covered in rainbow-colored light, and wings grew from its back. At that moment, the wealthy man felt utterly confused, but Rin explained. The monster would choose a dish for its final evolution, and after completing this evolution, it would have to return to nature on its own. It hadn't eaten anything before because it wanted to share one last sundae with its owner before parting ways. Even though the wealthy man was overcome with reluctance, the time for separation had come. Even so, the strong bond they shared would never fade, no matter the distance. The wealthy man gave the monster one final embrace. In the next moment, the satisfied monster spread its wings and flew off into the sky. As it flew away, a glowing apple appeared on its back, a symbol of the love it once shared with its owner. The apple was later cut into pieces by the crowd, and with just one bite, it was so delicious that it felt like an electric shock. As the red sunset painted the sky, the day ended with smiles on everyone's faces. To avoid becoming a grandfather, Stan secretly slipped birth control pills to his daughter. Even so, Stan still decided that Jeff had to be neutered. He tricked Jeff into thinking they were going out for a big meal, but instead took him straight to the hospital. Jeff was thrilled, thinking he was about to get free food. At that moment, the doctor came in to explain the procedure, but Jeff assumed the doctor was just a waiter.
How big is your minestrone?
Is this man not aware he's here for a medical procedure?
Can you tell me a little bit more about your colonoscopy? Is that spicy?
I'm sorry, but I can't operate on a man who's...
Later, Jeff and Haley ran off to a resort for a vacation. When Stan found out, he rushed there after them. He pretended to bring Haley a glass of orange juice, but Haley could already tell it had been drugged. She pointed out to him that this was a couples-only resort.
I've got my partner.
Judd!
To avoid becoming a grandfather, Stan truly tried every possible method. When Haley and Jeff were playing on the beach, Stan stepped in and physically blocked them. Eventually, Haley completely lost her patience. She angrily confronted Stan, and even threatened to cut off their father-daughter relationship. Stan was devastated. He went alone to a bar, and drank himself into a stupor, just as he had no idea what to do about Jeff. A hitman sitting nearby struck up a conversation. The hitman was more than happy to help Stan kill the Jeff he was talking about. By then, Stan was already drunk. In his haze, he agreed without fully realizing what he had done. The next morning, Stan was jolted awake by a text message. The hitman said he was going to kill Jeff that very day. Stan sobered up instantly. He desperately sent messages trying to stop him, but the hitman no longer replied. Stan rushed out to find Jeff, just as he had no idea where to look. He spotted the hitman instead.
Wait! Oh, my back! Oh,
At this point, Stan looked every bit like a frail old man. He went to the swimming pool and finally found Jeff, but the hitman was already closing in on him. Stan tried to stop the hitman.
Give us back our ball.
Huh?
God, I hate old people. Get him!
Stan was knocked unconscious by kids in the pool. Lifeguard Roger immediately jumped in to save him. Another lifeguard pulled Stan out of the water. When Stan came to, he happened to witness Jeff being attacked. Thinking quickly, Stan tossed the ball toward the hitman. The kids immediately swarmed him.
What the hell is going on, Dad?
So sorry for being such an idiot. I was too young to be a grandfather. But now I realize, young is the best time to do it. If I wait too long to have grandchildren, they're going to drown me in a pool. Come to think of it, that's how I killed my grandfather.
I'm a little confused. What's happened?
What's happened is that I'm giving you two my blessing to have children.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
Snot-handed Steve a clam. Steve said it tasted amazing.
Yum, yummity, yum, yum, yummers.
All right!
But the moment he turned around, he spat the clam into his locker. At lunch, Steve was forced to keep eating clams. He pretended to swallow them, but actually hid them in his locker. During gym class, Steve tried everything to avoid the clams, but the teacher forced him to eat them. He ran to the bathroom, only to find other kids there. They forced him to eat clams too. Steve quickly escaped by performing a magic trick. By now, Steve's locker was completely stuffed with clams. The principal noticed a strong, disgusting smell, and ordered Steve's locker to be opened. Steve admitted that he didn't like clams at all. He was just afraid of being ostracized by his friends.
It's okay that clams aren't your jam, buddy. If you don't like them, don't eat them. Really? That's great. I was worried you guys were going to exclude me or shun me or...
I believe the word you're looking for is ostracize.
And that big wooden thing is called a pillory.
That night, Steve threw a birthday party at home for Toshi.
Oh no, my grandma just died.
Oh gosh, that's terrible.
I need to go plan her funeral.
Holy cow, my grandma died too. She was in a duel with Barry's grandma and they shot each other at the same time. Wait, what?
But then, even Toshi ended up leaving. Steve was sure something was seriously wrong, so he followed them to the clam restaurant. That's when he realized Toshi had simply moved the birthday dinner there. Steve absolutely hated this clam restaurant. He disguised himself as a waiter and snuck inside, but after carefully inspecting the place, he discovered that the clams had no food safety issues at all. Later, Steve accidentally cut his hand. Roger told him to go treat the wound, but that's when Steve noticed a safe.
It's a keypad lock and we don't know the password. Unless... Yup, the password is clams. Of course the password is clams.
After opening it, he uncovered the restaurant's secret, so he went to the rooftop and shouted out that the dipping sauces they were eating were actually preservatives. Surprisingly, no one cared. Steve panicked and completely lost control. He tripped and fell into a vat of sauce. After prolonged exposure to excessive preservatives, Steve lost his sanity. He kidnapped his friend's grandmother and forced his 3 friends to choose, save the clam or save their grandmother. In the end, his friends chose to save his grandmother. Meanwhile, the balloon carrying the clams was struck by a bird. The balloon exploded, and the entire restaurant was reduced to rubble. Everyone called him a weirdo because he played games wearing nothing but shorts. What they didn't know was, he spent all his money on weapons. Why was he so confident? Because his reflexes were far beyond normal human limits, no matter how fast the enemy attacked. To him, it all looked like slow motion. Jack had already played thousands of so-called trash games. Sure, they were poorly made, but their difficulty often exceeded that of top-tier games. This time, he was starting a game that was widely regarded as a classic. As soon as he hit the character creation screen, he noticed he could sell his starting gear. True to his usual style, he immediately sold all his defensive equipment. But since this game had such a large player base, and to avoid being recognized, he decided to wear a head covering. It ended up making him look even more unique. The second he logged into the game, he could instantly tell it was nothing like the games he'd played before. There was no delay in the movements, everything felt like real life. Anything that was possible in reality, he could do in this game. It was unbelievable. But when he opened the map, he suddenly realized something was off. He hadn't started in the newbie village. The reason for this was that he had randomly chosen the drifter starting option. However, Jack didn't think this was a problem. In fact, he found it more challenging and fun. So, he decided to head towards the nearest town. On his way, he opened his stats screen. As expected, his defense was only 3. One hit would take him down. Just then, a goblin jumped down from a tree. Jack was startled, but his reflexes kicked in, and he quickly dodged. The battle started surprisingly quickly. He decided to test the game's combat mechanics with this goblin. The goblin attacked with an axe, but Jack remained calm. Just as the goblin's axe was about to strike, Jack dodged with swift agility. Then, with a clean swing of his short sword, took down the goblin in just 1 hit. The goblin's weapon dropped, and Jack leveled up to 2. He checked the goblin's drops but found that the weapon's durability had already been halved. Once the durability hit 0, the weapon would break. Just as he was about to press forward, he heard rustling in the bushes. Jack immediately became alert, waiting for the enemy to make the first move. He never expected such a strong hit from a rabbit. If it had hit him, the game would have been over. But instead of fear, he felt excitement. This was the kind of challenge he'd been looking for. The rabbit led off the attack first, but Jack reacted quickly. He blocked the attack with his short sword, then counterattacked with a powerful strike that sent the rabbit flying. Yet a single powerful attack wasn't enough to take it down. Then the rabbit comes at him again. Jack kept his cool, blocked again with his sword, and then slashed at the rabbit's throat. Finally, the rabbit fell. The system notified him that he had reached level 4. The monster was clearly stronger than the goblin, but it didn't drop any loot. Jack was disappointed. He really wanted that rabbit's weapon. Then, the system suddenly unlocked a new skill for him, dodge counter. This made Jack realize that the game unlocked new skills based on how players played the game. This meant that even if the level gap was huge, there was still a chance for him to defeat stronger enemies. Jack was eager to unlock more skills. Over the next 3 hours, he spent his time grinding monsters in the forest, leveling up. Before he knew it, he had reached level 12 and acquired 2 new short swords. These swords not only had high attack power but also increased his critical hit rate. The time spent farming had definitely paid 90 off. Jack pulls up the stats panel. He dumps all the stat points into luck and agility. After finishing off the monsters in the forest, he decided to head to the nearby town for supplies. Soon, he arrived at a bridge leading to the town, but his path was blocked by a giant serpent. Clearly, this serpent was the boss guarding the entrance to the town. To proceed, he would need to defeat it. Normally, this boss required a party of 3 level 10 players to defeat, but Jack didn't hesitate for a moment. He decides to solo this boss. A man was cursed by a monster, rendering him unable to wear armor. As a result, he put all of his attribute points into agility. However, he didn't expect to encounter a boss in the swamp. This boss could move freely in the swamp, completely countering his speed advantage. Even more deadly was that, although the swamp wasn't deep, the boss was still able to submerge and move underwater. Just as the boss was closing in, Jack dodged the attack at the last second by sidestepping. It turned out that after his battle with the Shadow Wolf, Jack had unlocked several new skills, but he hadn't had the chance to use them until now. One of those skills was counterblock, which allowed him to block an enemy's attack precisely and counterattack using their own force. This skill could be activated instantly, but each use had a 10-second cooldown. Seeing the boss about to strike again, Jack found himself with no place to run and could only stand helplessly. Just then, Amiru launched a magical wave, accurately pushing the boss back. Jack narrowly avoided danger, though relying on a stronger NPC was a bit embarrassing. He knew he shouldn't waste the opportunity, so he immediately activated his acceleration skill. But in the swamp, the effect was minimal. By the time he reached the boss, he had only one chance to strike. The moment the monster rose, Jack unleashed his spiral slash. Then, he used the climb skill to scale the boss. This bought him a little time, allowing Amiru to prepare a more powerful skill. Amiru did indeed have that skill, but it required some charging time. For Jack, this wasn't a problem, as his reflexes were fast enough to dodge even more intense attacks. However, unexpectedly, the boss threw him into the air. This was part of his plan to buy time for Amiru. At that moment, Amiru's skill was fully charged. She launched a much stronger light wave, at least 5 times more powerful than the previous one. With the monster falling, Jack also took 8 points of fall damage. As he was about to thank Amiru, Jack noticed that the boss had disappeared. At the same time, the ground around them started shaking violently. Jack realized his legs had been bound. Amiru then explained that this was the boss's instant kill skill. It would erupt under the target's feet without warning. Since Jack couldn't move, he was certain to be hit. Upon hearing her explanation, Jack immediately pushed Amiru to a safe spot. Though he could respawn, Amiru wouldn't have the chance. Just as he braced himself for his fate, he was suddenly thrown into the air. He thought this was the boss's instant kill attack, but it only caused a few points of damage. It turned out that when the boss's health dropped below a certain threshold, it would trigger an instant kill attack. The boss would immobilize all players trapped in the swamp, and randomly select one target to throw into the air. That target would suffer fall damage, and their health would be reduced to 0. This made the boss a nightmare for solo players. In solo challenges, players were always the ones chosen, with fall damage being the fatal blow. The initial throw would only cause 5 points of damage. Jack thought the game designers were cruel, but there was nothing he could do. At his current level, he didn't have any aerial skills. He had considered asking Amiru to use magic to push him sideways, but that would only hasten his death. Jack still didn't have a solution, but just as he was about to give up, he saw Amiru running toward him urgently, holding a scroll. Just as he was about to hit the ground, Amiru touched Jack with the scroll. It turned out this was Amiru's skill, instant translocation. This skill teleported both of them above the boss. Jack used the momentum from his fall to slam directly onto the boss's head. Finally, in its weakened state, the boss was crushed to death by Jack's fall. Though a bit stunned, Jack successfully earned the qualification to move on to the third city. Before leaving, he asked Amiru to disguise herself. The group they had attracted in the second city had proven this point. Before entering the next city, he had to find a way to hide her. As he mentioned this, Amiru took out a bracelet. It turned out to be the killer rabbit's secret art. After Amiru made Jack promise to keep it a secret, she activated the skill. A fleeting thought crossed Jack's mind, but when the smoke cleared, he was stunned. Amiru transformed into a beautiful young lady. The moment he stepped out of the beginner village, he never expected to be hunted down by a player killer. What made it worse was that his hunter was a max level player, while he had just hit level 30. Yet Jack didn't show a hint of fear. This might have been his first time playing this game, but in every other game he had ever touched, he was always the guy at the very top. His reaction speed was sharp, and years of real combat experience had shaped his instincts. No in-game stats stat could replace that. This so-called masterpiece of a game focused heavily on pure skill. If your mechanics were good enough, you could challenge players far above your level. Jack dodged anything he could, and he blocked anything he couldn't. Fighting a high-level player wasn't the issue. Beating a max-level player was the real problem. One tiny mistake, and he would get wiped out by a full combo. So as Riso, his true goal was to make it back to the safe zone alive. But while he was trading blows with Emma, her teammates had already cut off the entire path to safety. Jack couldn't get anywhere near the exit, and the situation turned dangerous fast. If Emma only had high stats, he could deal with it, but her combat skills were absolutely brutal. After a few exchanges, Jack finally recognized her. They had crossed paths in another infamous game. It was a game so poorly designed it drove players insane. You had to play a hero, farm monsters, and collect materials, yet the drop rates were absurdly low. Even a basic stone had only a 25% chance of dropping. Players spent forever collecting simple herbs. Higher tier items were nearly impossible to find. Because of that, nobody followed the intended rules. Robbing NPC shops became faster, and robbing players who just robbed those shops worked even better. Jack was one of those players, but Emma was on another level. She took over the entire kingdom and forced everyone to split their treasures and gold with her. She was scarier than the final boss itself. That was when Jack first met her. He led a massive revolt to take her down, and both sides paid a heavy price. Countless battles eventually made them familiar with each other. But that history wasn't going to save Jack today. He had triggered a unique event, turning him into the most wanted player in the server. Unless he revealed how to activate it, Emma would keep hunting him down. The order came from the Azura Guild's leader, and Emma was the guild's vice leader. While Jack was desperately looking for a way out, his partner Amiru ran into trouble as well. Her 2.5-minute transformation had ended, and the ritual tied to the event was about to be exposed. Just as he started to panic, he spotted another player nearby. Her name was Olivia, and she looked incredibly strong. Jack saw a chance he might be able to use, but Emma wasn't about to give him time. Jack pulled back immediately and called Amiru to retreat. He caught her as she dropped from the air, and the smooth teamwork made Olivia pause for a moment. Olivia even asked if she could take a picture with them. Jack seized the moment and said he'd think about it if they got to the safe zone alive. By then, Emma had fully recovered. She wasn't worried at all, because their agility gap was massive, and she believed Jack had zero chance of escaping. But just as she rushed forward, a fireball exploded right in front of her. She looked up and saw Olivia standing in her way. For the chance at a picture, Olivia had become Jack's temporary teammate. Emma was surprised, but excitement clearly outweighed her anger. She recognized Olivia as the vice leader of the Beast Tamer Guild, a player known for her insane strength. A fight with someone that strong was far more interesting than chasing Jack, but she hadn't forgotten about him. Right when Jack was about to reach the exit, several figures appeared out of nowhere and blocked his path completely. Bart has become a chubby kid because he eats a ton of junk food every day. Soda, chips, burgers, chocolate, and candy. He had tried almost every kind imaginable. After 3 weeks, Bart successfully turned into a chubby kid. Now even walking was difficult for him. When he skateboarded, he could actually crack the pavement. Just as soon as Bart got home, he went right back to eating junk food. He didn't take the doctor's advice seriously at all. To help Bart eat more healthily, Marge bought him some low-calorie foods. Bart refused to take even a single bite. He only forced himself to nibble a little, so Marge wouldn't feel hurt. Even though Bart was allergic to broccoli, Marge still prepared a plate of vegetables he could eat. Behind it, Lisa saw everything. She planned to tell Homer, but Homer's reaction was even worse than Bart's. He was lying in bed drinking milkshakes.
Maybe mom's the way to go.
One day after school, Bart came home and was still eating junk food. To keep his family from finding out, he even threw the trash into the bushes by the front door. But when he opened the door, he found a crowd of people waiting for him. They were there to warn Bart about the dangers of binge eating. If he kept this up, his health would be seriously damaged in the future. They planned to send Bart. At the camp, Bart had to undergo intense training every day, but the cost was too high, and Marge and Homer couldn't afford it. So they turned their house into a youth hostel to earn some extra money. Before long, Bart couldn't stand the weight loss camp anymore. He even snuck into the basement to eat ice cream. When the coach found out, Bart was sent back home. Bart saw how hard his family was working to pay for his weight loss expenses. Homer was even dancing for German tourists, enduring all kinds of humiliation. Just inside, and smashed every vending machine to pieces. Bart swung a hammer with all. Bart returned home carrying 2 large bags of cash. He told his parents that he had learned his lesson, and swore he would never eat junk food again. Homer finally felt relieved. Bart had realized his mistake at last. Now all they needed to do was ask the German tourists to leave. Everything in the Simpson household returned to normal, but Bart had only spent 1 week at the weight loss camp. There were still 3 weeks left. Not going back felt like a waste of money. So the question remained, who else needed to lose weight?
Maggie? Grandpa? My seldom seen half-brother Herb? Why is everyone looking at me?
as Komatsu, whose combat power is 0, all after swallowing several live fish whole. He actually managed to reach the beginner level of food intent to test the results of his training. He's even daring to take on a job, preparing a refined pufferfish worth $100 million. But this kind of refined pufferfish has venom sacs inside its body. One tiny mistake during preparation, and it'll become totally worthless. Komatsu once tried to prepare 10 of these in a beach cave, after losing $900 million in total. He barely succeeded in preparing one, thanks to some insane luck on his side. But now, with one slice of the knife, he cuts open the fish's belly. He can remove the venom sacs purely by instinct. The most amazing part is, the refined pufferfish in front of him didn't even turn golden, because it didn't even realize it had been disemboweled. This left Toriko, who was watching from the side, utterly shocked. Their teacher just brushed it off and said, "This is just the tip of the iceberg." Master chefs who reached the advanced level can dissect huge fish in the blink of an eye. They can even keep a fish alive for years, even if only the head is left. Determined to get stronger, the two made incredible progress in no time. In just a few days, they could keep a torch burning for 2 whole hours. Ham flowers would bloom instantly, as many as they wanted. Steamed rice could be refilled endlessly. White fish noodles could be eaten as much as they liked. Combining cactus and tornado pudding was totally effortless for them, until the day their teacher said that he could no longer beat the two of them. Toriko and Komatsu finally got their revenge, but before they could celebrate, the headmaster suddenly descended from the sky. The three of them dodged in a panic. When the dust settled, a huge crater had been smashed into the ground. If they'd been a second slower, Komatsu would have been crushed into a meat patty. That's how terrifying the impact was. Toriko and Komatsu didn't dare to make a single move. After that, the Grand Master decided to personally train them. While meditating the night before, the headmaster had sensed an impending crisis. He made up his mind to pass on the ultimate secrets of food intent to them. Then the headmaster led them to a pond, telling them to try catching soap bubble fruits. Toriko focused his energy and held out his hand. The soap bubble fruit felt icy cold in his grasp. This time, it didn't pop. He finally succeeded. But strangely enough, the soap bubble fruit wasn't even real. It was just a practice model made by the headmaster. The real soap bubble fruits are hidden in the secret realm of the food temple, and that's where the real trial begins. If you can't keep up, you'll end up dead in an instant.
Thaddeus wurde plötzlich zu einem unglaublich gut aussehenden Superstar. Jeder einzelne Bewohner von Bikini Bottom war völlig von ihm verzaubert. Manche baten ihn sogar darum, auf ihren Zahnspangen zu unterschreiben. Alles begann mit SpongeBobs magischer Hand. Ein eisernes Tor krachte versehentlich gegen Thaddeus' Gesicht. Er hielt sich das Gesicht, rollte vor Schmerzen über den Boden und schrie. Daraufhin wurde er notfallmäßig ins Krankenhaus gebracht. SpongeBob war extrem nervös und aß vor lauter Angst einen Hut nach dem anderen. Als der Arzt endlich aus dem Operationssaal kam, fragte SpongeBob ihn unter Tränen, wie es um Thaddeus stehe. Der Arzt war einen Moment lang sprachlos und sagte SpongeBob schließlich, er solle in 2 Wochen wiederkommen. 2 Wochen später war Thaddeus' Gesicht vollständig bandagiert. Als der Arzt die Verbände entfernte, starrte SpongeBob angespannt auf ihn. Plötzlich blitzte ein goldenes Licht auf. Thaddeus' neues Aussehen war so überwältigend, dass der Arzt sofort in Ohnmacht fiel. Auf der Straße verfielen selbst Männer. Thaddeus' verführerischem Charme. Eine 80-jährige, hinkende Großmutter rannte plötzlich los, wie eine professionelle Sprinterin. Ein Blinder erlangte auf der Stelle sein Augenlicht zurück. Ein kleines Mädchen bat ihn um ein Autogramm. Als Thaddeus nach Hause zurückkehrte, jubelten seine Fans Tag und Nacht ohne Unterbrechung. Am nächsten Morgen öffnete Thaddeus die Tür und stellte fest, dass sich alle Bewohner von Bikini Bottom draußen versammelt hatten. Sie waren ohrenbetäubend laut und Thaddeus' Kleidung wurde beinahe in Stücke gerissen. Zu diesem Zeitpunkt verstand Thaddeus noch immer nicht, was eigentlich passiert war. Als er später duschen wollte, sprang plötzlich ein muskelbepackter Fan aus der Badewanne. Sogar die Toilette war mit durchgedrehten Anhängern vollgestopft. Thaddeus sprang aus dem Fenster und flüchtete zu SpongeBobs Haus. Unter Tränen sagte er, dass er sein altes Gesicht zurückhaben wolle. Gemeinsam bahnten sie sich einen Weg durch die Menschenmenge und rannten zu Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs rechnete bereits aus, wie viele Luxusvillen ihm diese Kundschaft einbringen würde. Während Mr. Krabs die Aufmerksamkeit der Fans ablenkte, versuchte Thaddeus, den Türknallunfall nachzustellen. Doch SpongeBob brachte es nicht übers Herz, ihm weh zu tun. Nach einem heftigen inneren Kampf war er noch nicht bereit und knallte die Tür trotzdem direkt gegen Thaddeus' Gesicht. Als Thaddeus' Aussehen begann, sich zurückzuverwandeln, schlug SpongeBob noch kräftiger zu. Das Ergebnis war jedoch das Gegenteil. Thaddeus' Erscheinung wertete sich erneut auf und wurde noch attraktiver als zuvor. Plötzlich flog ein Schuh heran. Um Thaddeus zu schützen, stieß SpongeBob ihn mit voller Kraft weg. Thaddeus prallte gegen eine Säule und erlangte dadurch endlich sein ursprüngliches Aussehen zurück.
Ralph is running for president? The story begins with Homer. The moment Homer looks forward to most every day is when his boss clocks out. Just as Mr. Burns was about to leave, he suddenly started chatting with someone else, and judging by the situation, the conversation was going to drag on for a while. So Homer called that person and told him to leave immediately or face very serious consequences.
Stop and dance like a happy prospector. Happier. Happier. Happier.
Homer, we want to get him away from Burns.
Oh, right. Just leave. I kick like a rocket.
At last, Mr. Burns drove away, and Homer could finally get off work. He rushed home, hoping Marge would make something delicious. But today was the first day of Homer's sworn diet. Since he had decided to lose weight, this would be his very last day of eating junk food. Homer drove straight to Food Alley. When he ate burgers, he could devour an entire production line in one go. He even stuffed fries and lobster into a pizza, and swallowed the box along with it. He fired spicy chili straight into his mouth with a cannon. After stuffing himself, his car was filled with trash. Not wanting Marge to find out, Homer dumped all the garbage into a trash bin.
And as long as I'm cleaning out the family chariot, cups, newspapers, bottles, tricycle, lawn chair, uncashed checks.
Carelessly, he tossed in some used batteries as well. The leaking battery acid corroded a natural gas pipe. Just then, Homer lit a cigarette and casually tossed the burning match into the trash. The match landed right on the gas pipe, and the next moment, every restaurant on the street exploded. Even the Fat Tony-style mascot's head was blown clean off. The disaster left many mascots homeless. Homer called on everyone to rebuild the fast food district, a plan that would unfold during the presidential election. The people of Springfield all took sides. Only the Simpson family hadn't voted yet. Reporters and candidates swarmed their house, so tightly packed that not even a drop of water could get through. Someone even rolled up with a massive log, ready to smash down the door.
I wonder who that could be.
To win Homer's vote, the candidates acted exceptionally friendly, but Homer quickly chased them all away. He was sick of those idiotic politicians.
You too, Fred Thompson.
But I was a diehard.
Diehard too.
Homer suggested they elect the most ridiculous person possible as president.
Chief, wake up!
No, but you're close.
The next day, the news reported that the residents of Springfield had unanimously rejected all other candidates and nominated Ralph as their presidential candidate.
What I did made the TV thing happen.
He won the Springfield primary. For a nation desperate for change, Ralph was like a breath of fresh air. He also delivered many unforgettable quotes, lines people still remember to this day. Lisa couldn't believe they were seriously considering Ralph's campaign. It was a complete disaster, but Marge believed the farce would eventually blow over. Unexpectedly, Homer and Bart jumped in as well, and even invited Lisa to join them. But Lisa insisted Ralph was the dumbest kid in school. There was no way he could be president.
Lisa, being president is easy. You just point the army and shoot.
Besides, he was only 8 years old, and the Constitution clearly states that a presidential candidate must be at least 35.
The Constitution? I'm pretty sure the Patriot Act killed it to ensure our freedoms.
Ooh, the Patriot Act is so terrible. The government might find out what library books I take out. What's next? Finding out what operas I go to?